Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to part 2 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by the folks at Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership, located at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out their website, barrycullen.com, for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, along with their great selection of all-electric vehicles and catalytic vehicles as well. You can call the dealership at 519-824-0210 and tell them Chris Palme sent you, or you can email them at info@barrycullen.com. Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership has been family run and operated here in the city of Guelph since 1969 and has been a proud sponsor of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show for the past 3.5 years. I hope everyone's doing well on this. I can't believe it's already Monday, March 9th, 2026. This is season 13, episode 15, overall 675 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. Looking forward to my guest tonight. He's a friend of the show's, and this is his 4th appearance on our show. He's a 5-time Mann Cup champion, and he's also a National Lacrosse League analyst. And his name is Brian Shanahan, and we're going to bring him on and talk a little bit about the National Lacrosse League, the trade deadline, which was today, March 9th at 3 o'clock, and maybe talk a little Bandits with him as well. We're going to bring Brian Shanahan on right now. Good evening, Brian. How are you doing?
Very good, Chris. How are you doing?
Busy day. This is my second show today, and then with the we had the NHL trade deadline the other day, and now the National Lacrosse League trade deadline today too as well.
Yeah, it was a big day for the NLL today with the trade deadline.
Were you able to keep a track of some of the trades and moves today?
Yeah, I was trying to keep track during the day, and then some of them I guess weren't announced till later in the day. So I think I got the list of all of them that went through today, and you see, a couple teams were buyers and a couple teams were sellers.
What were your thoughts on the Toronto Rock getting defender Josh Jackson from Vegas for?
Honestly, I don't know much about Josh Jackson. I was just actually looking him up right now. He's played 3 seasons for the Las Vegas Desert Dogs, 10 games as a rookie, 17 last year, and he's played 10 so far this year. I kind of think he's insurance. I could be right. I know he's a Coquitlam boy, big guy, 6'3", 215 pounds. But the Toronto Rock just lost Rob Hudson to a season-ending injury, and the Rock, I wouldn't call either one of them a superstar, but they're just add depth to the defense. You need guys like that, and it's guys that are expected to play every game. So I figured picking up Josh Jackson is to replace Hudson, who's out for the rest of the year. So I hopefully he can fit right in. Another big body replacing a big body, and hopefully a guy that can play every game and add to the strong defense of the Toronto Rock.
Depth is especially important this time of the year because there's only 6 games left to the March to May playoffs start in less than 2 months from now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the league is so tight right now. I mean, there's a few weeks ago it looked like a few teams were sort of separating themselves from the pack. And the top 3 teams have all lost their most recent games, so they've come down a little bit. And now you see, teams like the Toronto Rock, Ottawa moving up, and even Buffalo, who looked like they might have been out of it a few weeks ago. So it is still tight to get a good playoff spot and even to make the playoffs. So there's no guarantees right now.
And speaking of Buffalo, I know In McKay is out with an injury right now, and I don't know how long he's going to be out, but they did address the situation today with Tyler Hendricks they acquired for a draft pick, and they also got former Bandit Joe Reseteris from the Philadelphia Wings just after the trade deadline today.
Yeah, I mean, losing McKay, if he's out for any amount of time, any serious amount of time, is absolutely huge. He was the MVP in the championship series last year. He played fantastic, and you know, I think he's one of the best players in the NLL. Like, I mean, he started his career playing defense, some excellent transition. He's become more of an all offensive player, but you could see like he could put up really good numbers when he's spending more time on offense, and I think he's a huge cog in the wheel of the Buffalo Bandits. Hendricks is not meant to replace him. They also picked up Joe Reseteris from Philadelphia, and who is a huge offensive player, although he's a righty, not a lefty. But, you know, he's the all-time best offensive player, U.S.-born offensive player, holds the record for the most career points as an American-born player, and he'll fit in nicely with the Buffalo Bandits. And I think that is a huge pickup. I'm not exactly sure how they're going to fit in all those great players on the right side, but Reseteris is proof that Buffalo is buyers, not sellers. And so, you know, a week or two ago, when they headed into that weekend against Saskatchewan and the Toronto Rock, if they had lost both those games, maybe even if they'd lost one of those games, they would have been sellers. They would have been unloading. But this is a sure sign that Buffalo say, no, we're going for a four-peat. We want to win it one more time. So I think it's going to be pretty exciting in Buffalo the rest of the year.
National Lacrosse League team ever win 4 in a row? I know Rochester did 3 in a row.
No, never before. I think only 2 teams have won 3 in a row, and it's Buffalo and Rochester. So 4 in a row would be huge. I mean, I thought 3 in a row was unbelievable for any team to win 3 in a row in this league, and to win 4 in a row. I mean, they're already a dynasty, but that'll put the stamp of all time on them. You know, and not only that, if they even make it to the finals again, that'll be 6 finals in a row, and no team has ever done that. So, although they're not thinking about setting that record, they want to get the 4 in a row. And you know, a few weeks ago, people thought things might be over for them, and all of a sudden, you know, after those 2 wins, people are realizing, okay, Buffalo was in the same situation 2 years ago, and they won the championship. They can do it again.
Yes, it's going to might be a little bit harder this year because they've got a few teams ahead of them, and they've got a pretty tough schedule the last 6 weeks. So I figure the Bandits in the last 6 games, if they can go 4-2, that would give them a 10-8 record. That should get them into the playoffs. I'm just not sure if that's going to get them a 4 or 3 seed though at this point.
And I don't even think it matters. I don't think it matters what seed they have. They'll go in that first round. They could beat any team. I could tell you there's no team in the top 4 that is wishing to play Buffalo in the first round. So I don't think it matters where they finish up as long as they're in the top 8. And I will say, I don't think they're as good as they have been in the past. But, they've got 2 of the best players in the world in Josh Byrne and Dane Smith. And those guys are not past their prime. Those guys are still 2 of the best players in the world. We saw what they did against Toronto a couple of weeks ago. And I think anytime you have guys as good as those 2 guys, you have a chance to win a championship because those guys can turn games around on their own. I mean, a couple of weeks ago against Toronto, I don't think Toronto played a bad game. I think it was just Dane Smith and Josh Byrne asserting themselves with their talent. Those 2 guys, I'd say if you made a list of the top 5 players in the world, nobody could make a list without those 2 guys on it. In fact, I think you could argue that those 2 guys are 1, 2, and I'm not even sure in which order. But they are definitely 2 of the top 5 players in the world.
What are your thoughts on Matt Vince this year? Everyone I know on social media was kind of writing him off because of his age, but I thought he was solid against Saskatchewan and against the Rock too. I thought he was really good.
I thought he was especially good against the Rock. And I've seen Vince do it before. I mean, a couple of years after he won the first championship with Buffalo, the next year he had some injury problems, and the team was up and down, but he really turned it on in the playoffs. I thought he was better in those playoffs than he was that first year they won. So I don't doubt that he can do that in a playoff series. I don't think he's been as dominant this year. He doesn't look invincible. Let's put it this way. And even the game against Saskatchewan, I thought late in that game, he was letting in a few long shots. There was a big goal scored by Ryan Keane that was going to go wide, and he put his stick out and deflected it in. So I thought he wasn't great then, but in the overtime, he was great. That overtime win against the Saskatchewan Rush, who came into that game with a 10-1 record. Against Toronto, I thought he was great all game long. Like he made 40, he made 46 saves that game, which is phenomenal. And I thought he looked like, the old Matt Vince. So I don't think he's the best goalie in the world right now. I think Brett Dobson is. I think Del Bianco is in for that argument. I still say that Matt Vince is in the top 5, and I would also say that he could turn it on in a playoff series, and he's been there so many times he could win you a playoff series. So I'm not worried about him. I don't think it's a weakness. Let's put it that way.
And the Rock and Bandits have 2 games this week. The Bandits are coming off a bye week. The Rock are coming off a big win at Vancouver. Huge win after losing to Buffalo. The Rock are in Halifax Friday night. Halifax is a team that's 5-7. That's kind of, to me, been disappointing. And then the Bandits are at home Friday night against Colorado, who a couple weeks ago embarrassed them in Colorado 20-9. So I expect the Bandits to give back a great performance against Colorado Friday night too.
Yeah, I think these are all huge games. Let's talk about the Buffalo Colorado one. That Buffalo lost in Colorado in the midst of that. I think it was a 4-game losing streak that the Bandits were on. I think Buffalo will play a lot better, but I also think Colorado is, one of, if I was ranking the best teams in the NLL, they're top 3. Although they can have a bad game every once in a while. This is Colorado. They lost 10-5 to Ottawa on the weekend. Earlier in the season, they lost 12-3 to Georgia. So as good as Colorado is, and I think they're top 3 in the league, they can have a stinker. I just don't think they'll have 2 stinkers in a row. They're coming off a stinker. I think they're going to be ready to play against Buffalo. So I think that'll probably be the game of the week, Buffalo hosting Colorado. It'll be interesting to see what happens Toronto and Halifax. Halifax, I think, has been disappointing this year, but they're coming off a couple of victories, and they're at home. And this is a huge game because they're not assured of a playoff spot. I mean, nobody's really assured of a playoff spot, but if Halifax doesn't go on a bit of a winning streak, they're going to be on the outside looking in. So this is absolutely a do or die game for Halifax. And Toronto's going to want to continue. They're going to want to go on another winning streak. So I think that'll be a good game. But I think the one to really circle this weekend is Buffalo and Colorado.
Out of the 14 teams in the league right now, I would say 11 are fighting for playoff spots. I think Oshawa, Calgary, and Philly at this point are really basically out of it. Those 3 teams.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that. I think those 3 teams are out of it. It's interesting because they're not giving up on it. None of those teams are mailing it in because what was it? Calgary just got a huge win over Rochester. And that was a big win for them. Oshawa got a win in Philly on the weekend, and Oshawa and Philly are playing each other again. So maybe at this point, some of these teams are playing for pride. I think that game between Oshawa and Philly this weekend will be a big one for those guys because they are playing for pride. Although Philly has just traded a couple of their big guns away, so they don't have the same offensive firepower as they did, a week ago. But I would agree with you. It's over for those 3 teams. I don't mind saying those 3 teams are not making the playoffs this year.
Brian, do you have long-term concerns about the Philadelphia Wings and even the Firewolves in Oshawa?
I don't. With Oshawa, I think Oshawa is in a great situation there. I mean, the concerns are, why they've had such a bad season. But I think as far as being in a good market and with a great fan base, I went to a game there a few weeks ago, and the environment was fantastic. It's just too bad that that game I went to, I think it was the one against San Diego, Oshawa just really stunk the joint out. They were down 9-1 or 9-2 at the half, and they had such a lively crowd. So I think they are fine long-term, Oshawa, for sure. They got to play better, because they've got that fan base that wants to see them win, but they've got a dedicated fan base. So I don't think they have anything to worry about, but they want to turn around, obviously, and have a winning team. It's 2 years in a row where they've had bad seasons. Philadelphia, I really don't know. I don't know what's going on there in terms of their, the business part of being in Philadelphia. I've heard people that know more about it than I do, that it is so tough, being in a rink of that size and competing with all the other sports. It is difficult. So, when I hear rumors that they could be moving, and that's all I've heard so far is just rumors, I could see it making sense. It doesn't make sense for Oshawa. Oshawa just love the move that they have made, and I think they'll be there for. I think they'll be there for a long. I can't see them ever moving out of that area because it's such a huge lacrosse hotbed. So if that team was winning right now, if they were doing what some of the best teams in the league were doing, that whole area would be going nuts.
Is there another city in Canada that you'd like to see an NLT come to at some point?
Yeah, I'd love to see, and it's partly selfish reasons. I remember when Montreal had a team for a few years. It was exciting. I mean, they left. They were getting 8,000 fans a game, and the fans were loving it. And I think when Montreal had a team, it was the Toronto Rock ownership. Toronto Rock, they moved to Toronto and struck gold. They were selling out Maple Leaf Gardens the first year of existence, and things were going great, that they said, okay, let's go to Ottawa, let's go to Montreal. And I think when Montreal and Ottawa did not duplicate what Toronto did, they said, okay, it didn't work. So they really weren't in for the long run. I think Montreal can work. I think Montreal can work in the NLL. I think you probably want some local ownership, and they're not going to be getting 15,000 fans overnight. And I think as a new owner in this league, I don't think you can step into the league expecting that. So I'd like to see it in Montreal because, like I said, selfishly, it was such a fun city to go to watch lacrosse. I'd like to see them back in Edmonton as well. I'd like to see a team in Winnipeg. Obviously, I'm looking at these Canadian cities, and I think the more Canadian teams, the better for the product on TV. I think TSN would just love to have more Canadian teams. I don't know if there's anybody in Winnipeg looking to put a team there, but I'd love to see it there. And honestly, I can't think. Is there another Canadian team that I'm missing that you think is a possibility?
I know one, but it's not in Canada. It's across the border from Canada, Detroit. And they had the Detroit Turtles in the 90s.
Yeah.
I don't know if they have the arena there, but I just don't know if it would succeed. But I know being so close to the border with Windsor, it would be a possibility, I think.
Yeah, and I think you definitely it's all about having the right ownership group now, I believe, and the ownership that's going to have some patience. And it's funny because even from a TSN point of view, you've got the Canadian teams and Buffalo almost as a quasi-Canadian team. I think so. Buffalo, there's a few games on TSN with Buffalo in it without a Canadian team. I think that's kind of considered they're close enough that TSN and it's great to watch on TV. Like when the Bandits are having 17,000, that's good TV. But I could also see the same thing happening if Detroit had a team. I could see TSN saying, okay, let's make sure we put a few of those games on. So I have no problem with that if it was the right ownership. I mean, if it was the ownership that owned the Detroit Red Wings and they were interested, I think that would be absolutely great. But yeah, I don't really know. But I'd love to see Montreal, Edmonton, and I even think Winnipeg too, if there was an ownership group that was interested.
Seattle, what's your thoughts on Seattle as a possible market in the future too?
Yeah, I mean, there was 1 year that was it 1 year. I mean, when Washington, the Washington team played out there, and they actually won a championship. And I'm trying to remember what city they played. I think they played out of Everett, so not far from Seattle, and they actually, they won a championship there. So I think that's a possibility too. But I mean, I would take it slow for sure, and like I say, selfishly, I'd like to see another Canadian team, and I think it would build, the product, the TSN product too, which I think is so important for the NLL. And again, I don't understand the TV market. I don't know the TV market in the States as well as I do in Canada. And I think in Canada, and I've been saying for years, when the NLL was off TSN for a while, you got to get the NLL back on TSN. We saw what TSN did for the CFL in a year. Probably you might even be too young to remember, Chris. There was a time when the CFL was hanging by a thread, and really TSN helped bring them back to life. And what TSN has done for TSN has done for the World Junior Hockey. Like TSN has made that a huge product, and TSN and with curling and all that. And I think if TSN commits to something, they can really build a fan base. And I'd really like to see TSN do it even more. I'd like to see more highlights on TSN. I mean, the games are well produced, and I think all the talent on TSN is great. But I'd love to see more highlights. I watch the highlights every morning, the Jay Onright show, and I don't know if I've ever seen a lacrosse highlight. So I'd like to see. If there was a game last night, I want to see the highlights the next day.
I totally agree with you as well. And it would be nice to see some of these teams have their games on radio. I know the Bandits have radio coverage, but I don't think the Toronto Rock have any radio coverage or even live streaming coverage.
Yeah, and it's funny because when the Toronto Rock started back in, was it 99? 99 was the first year. They were on the radio, as well as they had a TV package. Just the home games were all on TV. It was Sportsnet back then. I worked the games, and they also had the radio on the all sports network, the Fan 590, which was a relatively new station. Sports radio was relatively a new thing in Canada at the time. In fact, I think they only started about 94. So they did have every game. And I believe it was home and away back then. Dan Dunleavy, who's the voice of the Buffalo Sabres now, he was the voice of the Toronto Rock on the Fan 590 back then. So it was pretty exciting. I have no idea, in terms of costs and all that. But also back then you didn't have streaming like you do now. So I mean, now if you want to get a game,
NLL Plus,
you can watch a game on NLL Plus. So that's available. So that's maybe has hurt the radio product. I'm not sure.
Overall, are you happy with the direction of this league where it's going?
Yeah, I am. I think, I remember years ago, not that long ago, some knowledgeable lacrosse coaches and managers told me, that we can't grow it too much. There's not enough talent. And these same guys are now saying, like, they can't believe the talent that is coming up. Like every year now, you're getting at least 5 or 6 guys that could step in and be stars. I mean, there's so many great Canadians going down the U.S. on scholarships, but now you're also getting the U.S. players, the great U.S. players that want to play in the NL. Now you got so many great U.S. players coming up to play Junior A lacrosse in Canada because they know how much that box lacrosse. So guys that have not grown up being box lacrosse players are coming up to play box in Canada. It's helping their field game down the States. Then they want to, and why would they not want to come up and play in the NLL? So I think you're getting more Canadians, you're getting more Americans. I think the talent level is great right now. Like every year, people are talking about this 2026 NLL draft that's coming up, next year, about being the best draft of all time. And yeah, you are getting guys that step into this league. And the other thing is, when you're coming up from college, these guys are 24, 25 years old. So they're not really kids anymore. You still get the odd NLL rookie that comes out of Junior A that doesn't go down to college. Guys like, Dane Smith, he never went down to the States. And Rob Hellier, who's been in the league probably about 15 years now. So you get the odd guys that are coming in the NLL at 18 years old, and they are kids. But the vast majority there are coming up after 4 years of U.S. college, and they're coming into the league at 24, 25. So they're men. So they're already men. They already have that men's strength. They've been, working weights, great guidance in the weight room for years and years. So they're coming in the NLL and they're making an impact right away. So I like where we're going with the talent level. I like the fact that, we've got the TSN deals, we got the TV, and I like, the fact that the league realizes it's very important to have it on, on TSN, get the games on as much as possible. So, and I like the way that they're taking their time with, expansion to make sure they're vetting the owners, getting the right owners that are in for the long run. And I don't think there's anything I can complain about. Actually, about a few things. I mean, some of the rules, I don't like the new rule, the blocking shot rule. I don't know if you've been paying much attention to it. So I mean, this is almost a Buffalo Bandit rule, because the Buffalo Bandits were so famous for their defenders standing in the crease, like playing for a second, like a new rule. I just don't like the way it's been implemented. I don't like the fact that Paul Dawson, who I love, would stand beside the goalie. Works right now, and every once in a while there's a rule, but you know what, you put in a new rule and sometimes it doesn't work the way you want, and and you have to tinker with. The other thing I think they have to tinker with is the challenges. The challenges take too long and they take the air out of the games at times. I'd put on my stopwatch when there's a challenge, and they're just, some of them are obvious. It's like, oh my gosh, can they not see it? So I'd like to see them put a timer on the referee, or else go to a situation room. My son actually works in the NHL situation room, and he says, like, why doesn't the NLL do that? Just go in, they're watching. You got a team of guys in these rooms watching the games, and they're so much faster. So I have no problem with the idea of these rules, the idea of the challenges, but I think we have to improve on that. So I have to give you some negatives. When I told you I'm happy about almost everything that's going with the NLL, like some of the rules, I'm like I said, the other thing is, I think too often, if I'm going to go on a bit of a bitch fest, I think I like that when a referee calls a 5-minute major, they get to review it. But I think some referees use it as a crutch. Anytime anything is close, they just say, let's call it 5 minutes so we can review it. And they sometimes, just give it a 2. Just give it a 2. You don't have to always err on the side of let's watch it again. So, and the reason, my complaints about some of these rules is slowing the game down. I don't like slowing the game down. I like, it's an exciting game. Don't slow it down. Don't take your time challenge, doing all these challenges. So, and I think the NLL is aware of that, and I think they will rectify things.
Personally, I think 60 seconds should be long enough. After a minute, they can't make a decision, then the ruling on the field stands.
Yeah, and I don't mind that. And the funny thing is, I did have a coach. I spoke to a coach early in the season, and we were talking about, some of the calls were taking so long, and the coach says, we only have 30 seconds to decide whether we want to throw the flag or not. Why are these referees getting unlimited time? I understand the referees want to get it right, but sometimes that's not the most important thing, and sometimes it's just like, like you said, go with the original call. It puts a little bit more pressure on the refs, and I think the refs are great. I have no complaints against these refs, but yeah, you got 60 seconds, whether 60 seconds or 2 minutes, either one of those would be a huge improvement now, because I think most of them, I don't have official stats, but it feels like it's 5 minutes every time.
Is there a rules committee with coaches and GMs with the league that look at changes during the off season, Brian?
Yeah, there is. They've got committees that look at that kind of stuff. I know some people were complaining about, the shot blocking one, that it hasn't always worked well, and they said we got to change. Well, I agree with them. They don't want to change something mid-season. So I think, when they put in a rule, they got to commit to the whole season for it. But yes, in the off season, they look at all those things, and they really do, a pretty good job of examining all this stuff. So they do that.
Brian, are you okay for a few more minutes? A couple more quick questions?
Yeah, sure, Chris. The time has flown by.
Yeah, it absolutely is, because I love doing this show and I really appreciate you coming on. It's the guests that make a great show. But I wanted to get your thoughts too on the new renovated TD Coliseum. And do you feel this Rock team is a NLL Cup contender at 7-5 currently?
Uh, well, the first, I'll answer the first one. I mean, everybody. The funny thing is, when I go to the games, and I've been there 7 or 8 times already, I'm pretty much in and up in my booth, and I really haven't had the time to really go look around. But everyone I've talked to said they love it. They love the food that's there. I feel like, you know, I feel like one time I don't want to go and just not do the game, just go around and be a fan and enjoy the food and all that kind of stuff. But everybody I've heard has really loved it, the renovations, and so I haven't really had a chance to explore like I'd like to do at some point. And I do think they are a contender. I think this Rock team is a good team. I love the direction they're going. I love how their rookies are playing. I think the defense is playing great. I mean, Nick Rose just missed I can't remember, it was 5 or 6 weeks with an injury. Troy Halchuk stepped in and played great. And then all of a sudden, Rose comes back and had that dynamite game against Vancouver. So goaltending's looking good. You know, I think the defense is good. The offense at times, they look like they struggle to score some goals, but for the most part, they are well balanced, efficient offense, and every team, every team in the league at times has had a hard time scoring goals this year. So overall, I think the Rock is got to be pleased with where their team is right now. And plus, they own. I mean, they own Calgary's #1 draft choice for next year, which could be first, second, or third overall. So they could be getting another young superstar as well. So I think it's great. Well, I mean, they've been fortunate that they got the first 3 picks in the draft last year. So I think those guys who are playing, obviously CJ Kurse is the top scoring rookie right now, and Owen Hiltz is not far behind. And I think things are looking up for the Toronto Rock. And I would say, they are a contender. I wouldn't say they're a favorite, but I don't know if I'd say anybody's a favorite. And I like if I had to pick a favorite, I would maybe lean towards Vancouver. I mean, that's hard to say when Saskatchewan's got the best record in the league, but I think Vancouver is deep and strong. But we just saw on the weekend the Rock made them look pretty bad on the weekend. So any team, despite how good or bad they are, can surprise you on any given day.
Is that press box still got to go over the catwalk to get to it?
That's the direction I go because I don't have a fear of heights. But
I do.
Well, I did a game with Stamper a couple of years ago there, and I thought I was going to do the game solo because he does have a fear of heights too. And I took him up to the catwalk. That was the only way I knew how to get to the press box, and he would not go. Like I literally, this is Steven Stamp. I literally thought I was ready to hold his hand to take him across, and he couldn't. He couldn't cross that. And thankfully, there is another way to get in.
Away, so I found out.
You did find it out? Okay, so there is a back way. Thank God, because I thought I was going to do play-by-play for the first time in my life.
Wow.
And believe me, I am no play-by-play guy. I've never tried it, and I admire those guys that they're able to do what I'm not ever prepared to do that, and I don't want to ever do that. I like doing what I do, and I'm glad that Stamper finally made it that game. But he's not the only one. I know of a few guys like you who are scared. Well, it's more than scared. They just can't walk across that catwalk. Now, if you ever get the chance, Calgary's is worse.
Even
Calgary,
worse.
You are walking right over center ice. And like I said, I don't have a fear of heights, but when I walk over, like in Calgary, anytime I'd walk over, I'd stop and look down and take a picture. And I can understand if you got a fear of heights, you'd never want to try that.
Hey, Brian, I know a couple of years ago when I had Pat Gregor on the show, when the Rock announced they were moving to Hamilton, I was like, this is terrible. They're not going to survive in Hamilton, especially being called the Toronto Rock. But apparently I've been wrong. But do you feel eventually at some point they will become the Hamilton Rock, or do you think they'll just keep the Toronto Rock going forward?
I think they'll probably keep the Toronto Rock going forward, unless they're, I mean, I'd say they're more than just the Hamilton fans. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of fans from the Hamilton area, but I think the Toronto Rock get fans from a wider area. Now, having said that, they probably lost a lot of fans in the Durham area, like that have gone to Oshawa. But I think they get a lot of fans from west of Toronto and not just the Hamilton area. So I don't know if there's any talk that anyone's pushing for it. Before the Toronto Rock moved to Toronto, their first year as a franchise, they played out of Hamilton, and they were called the Ontario Raiders. And the logic back then, I didn't actually like that. Back then, I thought, why wouldn't they be called Hamilton? And I thought there was a bigger argument back then. But I also understood their logic. They said, no, we want to draw fans from Ontario, not just Hamilton. And I'd say now they're definitely drawing fans from, Southern Ontario, west of the GTA, because you got a lot of lacrosse hotbeds. You got your Orangeville, your Kitchener area, Center Wellington and all that, plus the whole, St. Catharines to Hamilton. So I don't think they will change the name, but I don't really know.
There is one city in Ontario, I think, that should be considered a lacrosse team is London. They have the right arena in the Canadian Life Center. It seats 9,500 people, and there's about 500,000 people in the London area. So that's something I would look at if I was in NLL, or even have an exhibition game there and see how it does.
Well, I love that rink there, and my brother played for the London Knights before he went to the NHL.
Yep.
And so maybe somebody should be calling the Hunter brothers and saying, like, I know you guys do great with the London Knights. Would you like to stick a lacrosse team in there too? But I like I was saying earlier, if you got the right ownership, I could see it working. But you're talking about Detroit. You want to go Detroit and London? That'll be quite the rivalry.
Absolutely. And the only thing with the London Knights is that they're the number one tenants too. So when you're looking at moving to a new city and a new arena, you got to look at, are you going to be the number one tenant, or are you going to be the number 3 or 4 tenant for options too? Because you want to have your games, a lot of them on Fridays and Saturdays for the fans.
Yeah. And that's one of the great things about the Toronto Rock are the number one tenant in London. And I think they even were when the Hamilton Junior A hockey or OHL hockey team. And now, is that team moved? I think they've moved. Have they not?
Yeah, they're the Brantford Bulldogs now.
Yeah, but I think even when they were in Hamilton, and when Toronto first went to Hamilton, they were still in Hamilton. I think Toronto was the number one tenant. I could be wrong on that, but I think they had the first choice. And so they've got a really great deal there, the Toronto Rock. So they're loving it. But yeah, you're right. If there was a team in London, I don't think it's working unless it's, the Hunter brothers are in on it and part of it and want to make it work, because you cannot compete with the London Knights.
Best franchise in the CHL the last 20 years.
Oh, no, they sure are. I mean, they've won their Memorial Cups, and they're generally always have a great team.
Before we wrap up this show, Brian, where can our audience follow you on social media, and when is your next NLL game that you will be doing as an analyst?
So I'm doing all the Toronto Rock home games in the regular season, all except for one. So there was one I didn't do a while back. I can't even remember which one, but I'm doing all the Toronto Rock home games. I think the rest of the Rock home games are on TSN Plus or NLL Plus. I won't be doing the playoffs, I don't believe, but I'll do the rest of their home games. I don't even know how many we got left. And I am on Twitter. I've been pretty quiet on Twitter the last few years. I think ever since Elon Musk took over Twitter, I think there's a lot of garbage on it, but I still follow. I follow the guys. I read more than I write right now. I used to write for Inside Lacrosse, and I love writing about lacrosse. And but right now I've been much quieter on Twitter, keeping to myself. But I still read it and I still enjoy it. And if I ever get the urge, and if somebody wants to pay me again, I will write. But I like writing about lacrosse and the history of lacrosse. I love writing about guys like Bobby Allen and the greats that I've met, I've been lucky to meet, or the greats that I've played with, because I've been lucky enough to play with the guys like John Tavares and Jimmy Veltman and so many great guys that on some great teams. So I love writing about that kind of stuff, but I guess I've been lazy in the last while. But I am on Twitter, SBD Shanny, if you want to look me up. But I've been, like I said, pretty quiet.
I'm hoping to get the NLL commissioner on my show one day. And this league has been really great with me. They took me in 4 years ago, the Bandits, and I love watching the game, and I want to keep learning. And I wish I'd started following it much earlier in life, but yeah, I guess it's never too late.
No, and you know what, Chris, like I've seen you putting a lot of lacrosse guys on, and I think in general, the lacrosse guys are great. Nobody's going to say no to an invitation. I don't think anyone would ever say no to you or anybody, because we're all promoting the game we love.
And I'm going to have Steve Bermel on from the Bandits Wednesday night.
He's a great guy too. I've worked with Steve. I've done games in Buffalo with him. He's a great guy and very knowledgeable, and a real nice guy too.
And John Gertler too.
And Gertler, I love Gertler. Yeah,
he's got a good sense of humor. He caught me off guard a few times, but every time I see those guys, they're always great with me. Tremendous organization, and I really like.
No, and they are like from from Scott Loeffler on down. I don't know the owners of Buffalo, but the management team and the talent and Randy Mearns. I don't know if you ever met him.
Not yet.
But they're all great guys, and say hi to Steve for me, and say hi to John the next time you see him. And no, they are all great guys. And like I said, we all love the game, so we love promoting the game. And I think that's why we all love talking with you when you give us a chance to talk some more lacrosse.
And Bud Bailey too. He covers the Bandits, and I always pick his brain out too. And he started following lacrosse back in the early 2000s as well. Yeah,
and he writes some good stuff. I like reading his stuff too.
And Pat Gregor, he's the one that introduced me to the game.
He's your favorite, Chris.
Yes,
he's your favorite. What am I? Your 10th favorite? Yes. Am I your second, third, fourth, fifth?
No, you're right up there. Everybody that comes on here is great, and I want to keep learning about the sport, man. I honestly wish I had started following it sooner, because as far as I'm concerned, indoor lacrosse is just as good as hockey. I love hockey, but indoor lacrosse is great, and hopefully the sport will continue to grow.
Yeah, we all hope it grows till it gets, I'd love to see it get to the point where these guys are all full-time jobs, playing lacrosse, and I think that would be a dream come true.
Well, Brian, I want to say thank you so much for giving us a little more than a half an hour of your time tonight, and hopefully we can have you back on maybe during the NLL playoffs when they start up.
Yeah. Anytime, Chris. Call me anytime, and it's a pleasure being on. And I can't wait to have my dinner now. I'm gonna eat soon.
All right, Brian. Enjoy your dinner. Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you soon, Brian. Have a good night.
You too. You're welcome.
All right, everybody. That wraps up season 13, episode 15. Overall 675 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. Again, brought to you by our friends at Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership here in Guelph. Before we wrap up tonight's show, guys, this is my second of the day. I'm going to play a little video clip of an interview I did with Jarrett from the Garlic King this past Saturday at the Paris Agricultural Fairgrounds for their Winterfest as well. This is Jarrett from Garlic King, and I'm playing the interview courtesy of my YouTube channel, Chris Pame Live with CDP Talk Show. Please subscribe, like, and share. Chris Pame live here in Paris at the Paris Fairgrounds for the end of winter festival. And I have a special guest, Jarrett from Garlic King. Jarrett, can you tell us a little bit about this festival going on this weekend?
Yes, we're at the Paris Winter Carnival, but it sure doesn't feel like winter. It's 16 degrees outside, and we're inside the Paris Fairgrounds. We're surrounded by a bunch of local vendors, and we have our garlic spread here today. We also have a new product. If you have already tried out our garlic spread, you know all about that. Great on your baked potatoes, your grilled cheese sandwiches. You can try it on a slice of bread there as well. Anything that you would use butter, oil, or margarine on, this is great on. Now, we've also launched a new product. This is our black garlic. So what we do is we just take regular garlic. It goes into a heat chamber specialized to make black garlic, and it goes in there for over 2 weeks at over 70 degrees Celsius. This heating process transforms it into black garlic and gives it a whole bunch more health benefits. Also gives it a nice sweet taste, kind of like with a little bit of a molasses undertone to it. It doesn't taste like garlic and doesn't give you garlic breath either. There's so many things you can use it for, like even a chocolate chip cookie recipe. I'd combine it with some olive oil or butter to make like a rub. Lots of different things.
Can you tell us about the latest with Garlic King besides the black garlic and some of your new packaging coming?
So coming soon in May, Garlic King is going to have all new packaging. You can check out, I just posted on our Facebook page, Garlic King, a little sneak peek photo of it, but we will have all new packaging. Currently, we have to hand label. Not only do we hand mix every batch by hand, we also hand sticker it, put the date on it. Going forward, our logo is going to be right on the side of the container as well as the top, and we're going to be able to have a UPC code on it, our nutrition info. So we're hoping to be able to get into a lot more stores now. And with the time that we save from not having to hand label every package, hopefully do some more events too.
When's your next event after this one tomorrow, which is what, 11 to 3 tomorrow too?
We're out here at the Paris Fairground tomorrow for 11 to 3, and then we're going to be at the St. Jacobs Farmers Market. We're back outside at the St. Jacobs Farmers Market starting March break, and then we'll also be at the Elmira Maple Syrup Festival coming up soon.
And where can people follow you guys on social media and your website, and the best way of contacting you to buy your product?
All right, thank you very much for asking. You can find us online at garlicking.ca. You can also find me, I'm on Facebook. Just look up Garlic King. And we're great if you send us a message on that.
And what's one word to describe Garlic King?
So versatile. You will use this on everything. Anything and everything. Just like the black garlic has many uses, our garlic spread has unlimited uses as well.
Can you tell us about your employee in the background?
Alicia over here working away. And this is the Garlic Kings event team here.
And you guys will be back here in Paris tomorrow from 11 to 3?
We're looking forward to it. We'll have lots more garlic spread samples, and there's lots of things to do here. Lots of great vendors. There's almost over 100 vendors here today.
Jarrett, well, thank you so much. Continued success with Garlic King, and I will continue to buy your product as well.
It is always great to see you, Chris. We always love seeing you at all the Butter Tart festivals we do, all these different events, and thank you so much for your support.
Thanks, Jarrett. Check out garlicking.ca. That clip was courtesy of my YouTube channel, Live with CDP Sports Talk, Chris Pame. Go to YouTube, subscribe, like, and share. And that was Jarrett from the Garlic King. You can check out their website at garlicking.ca. And I was at the Paris Agricultural Fair this weekend for their winter festival there. It was kind of a carnival festival. They had a lot of food vendors there too. And if you like good garlic spread, garlicking.ca. And they are available at Fresh Mart grocery stores in Guelph, and also they're at St. Jacobs Farmer Market or any of these butter tart festivals around Ontario as well. As we wrap up the show, guys, again, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership. Right now, the federal EV rebate is back. Get up to $5,000 off the purchase of your new Chevy EV. More details available at Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership, located at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out their website, barrycullen.com, or pop by the dealership and ask about the federal EV rebate again. And again, Barry Cullen Chevrolet is a proud sponsor of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. As we wrap up the show, guys, the Cambridge District Humane Society is having a fundraiser on Saturday, April 11th, 2026, from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. at the Cambridge Newfoundland Club, located at 1500 Dunbar Road in Cambridge, Ontario. The event is called the Prohibition Speakeasy Fundraising Event. Tickets are $75 per ticket, and the funds go back into the programs at the Cambridge District Humane Society. And you can purchase your tickets at the CambridgeHumaneSociety.org. It's a 1920s theme. They're going to have a little bit of food there, desserts, and they're going to have a live music band there as well. And come dress up in the 1920s theme. And hopefully you guys can come out. I bought a ticket, and if you want to get a ticket, again, CambridgeHumaneSociety.org, or you can see Zach or Kat at 1650 Dunbar Road in Cambridge, Ontario, right across the Cambridge Center Mall, or you can call the Cambridge Humane Society at 519-623-7722, extension 0. Ask for Zach or Kat, and you can purchase a ticket by phone, in person, or again on their website, CambridgeHumaneSociety.org. And if you're looking to adopt a pet, or volunteer, go to CambridgeHumaneSociety.org and fill out their volunteer application form. And if you're looking to adopt a pet, their profiles are on CambridgeHumaneSociety.org. And at the Cambridge District Humane Society, you can't buy happiness, but you can adopt it. And they do a wonderful job down there with the animals as well. By the way, guys, if you'd like to book a personalized video message from yours truly, CDP, go to cameo.com, type in Chris Palme. I do happy birthday, happy Hanukkah, happy anniversary, congratulations, anything within reason. And I look forward to doing your request today. So go to cameo.com and type in Chris Palme and book your cameo today. You can now follow me on Blue Sky Social. Blue Sky Social is what Twitter used to be like, at Live with CDP19 on Blue Sky Social. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, again, is live streamed on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, X, Twitch, LinkedIn, and now available on Instagram. And I am trying to figure out a way how to do it on TikTok Live as well. You can also check out my website at beacons.ai/Chris D. Palme. Speaking of TikTok, you can follow me on TikTok at Chris Palme. Follow, like, and share. StreamYard is the official live stream provider of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. If you're into webinars, live streaming, podcasting, go to StreamYard.com. They have basic free plans, paid professional plans, or if you are a business that does a lot of webinars, go to StreamYard.com and contact their sales department for pricing as well. And yours truly has been with StreamYard now for 5 years. And by the way, this is my 6th year now into my new career into media and radio. And I want to say thank you to everyone for watching and listening to the show the last 6 years. I have done now 750 episodes and interviewed over 1,500 people. So I want to thank you, the audience, for listening and watching Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, the Argo Bounce podcast show with Nick Small during the CFL season, and the Small Talk podcast with co-host Marlene Sharp and myself, which is a once-a-month entertainment talk show as well. And thank you to all my wonderful guests that have come on here virtually, or I've done interviews in person, such as Jarrett from the Garlic King as well. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. The audio version is on iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify for podcasters, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Spotify, Castbox, LinkedIn, Pandora, Tuned In, YouTube Music, and Good Pods. Finally, guys, you can email the show Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show at cpalme19@gmail.com. And also, if you like my YouTube channel content, my talk show content, and you'd like to contribute, I am on PayPal at Chris Palme on PayPal. See my link on the YouTube channel if you'd like to PayPal me as well. And finally, guys, you can follow me on Facebook, X, Twitter, Threads, Instagram, LinkedIn, Blue Sky, everywhere except Snapchat. And also remember to check out my YouTube channel, Chris Palme, Live with CDP Talk Show. Subscribe, like, and share. And I have a lot of YouTube short videos there as well. As we wrap up today's show, guys, the Philadelphia Eagles got hit hard in free agency. Nakobe Dean signed with the Las Vegas Raiders. Jahan Dotson is now with the Atlanta Falcons. Jalen Phillips, who they acquired from Miami, is now with Carolina. And just now it was announced Reed Blankenship, who is the heart and soul of the secondary, just signed with the Houston Texans. So the Eagles have been hit hard with free agency so far. Hopefully we'll see what Howie Roseman and the Eagles do as well. But Reed Blankenship is now with Houston. Jalen Phillips is with Carolina. Jahan Dotson, the wide receiver, with the Atlanta Falcons, and Nakobe Dean signed a contract with the Las Vegas Raiders as well. So hopefully Howie Roseman has a plan for this coming season with the Philadelphia Eagles as well. By the way, as we wrap up the show, guys, if you're a fan of the National Lacrosse League again, and you're a fan of the Buffalo Bandits, check out my next live with CDP Sports and Entertainment talk show Wednesday, March 11th at 9 p.m. Eastern. That's 9 p.m. Eastern with special guest, friend of the show, Steve Bermel, the Buffalo Bandits analyst. They're going to talk about the 6-6 Bandits season, their ups and downs, their two big wins last week against Saskatchewan and Toronto, having a bye week, and then acquiring Joe Reseteris, former Bandit legend, today from Philly, and also acquiring defenseman Tyler Hendricks from I believe Vegas for a 6th-round pick. So Tyler Hendricks and Joe Reseteris are new Buffalo Bandits as well. And Bandits are back in action Friday night. Friday night, which would be March 13th, I think. Friday, March 13th, I believe. Yeah, Friday, March 13th, 7:30, KeyBank Center. The Bandits take on the Colorado Mammoth in a rematch of the 2023 NLL finals and 2022 NLL finals. And Colorado, about a month ago, back in Colorado, embarrassed the Bandits 20-9. So Bandits Colorado this Friday, 7:30. You can get tickets at bandits.com, or you can watch the game on TSN Plus or NLL Plus, or listen to it in Buffalo on 1520 AM. The Bet with John Gerkler and Steve Bermel and Dave Buchanan as well. I want to say thank you to tonight's guest, Brian Shanahan, for coming on, National Lacrosse League analyst and 5-time Mann Cup champion, for coming on again. And I want to say thank you to my earlier guest today, Joe Whitbread, from Joe Social Media. He's an MC and the public address announcer for the Sylvan Lakes of the Gulls of the Western Canadian Baseball League again. So thanks to Joe Whitbread, Brian Shanahan for coming on here today, and thank you to Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership for being a part of the show as a sponsor and advertiser, and thank you to the audience for watching and listening to this show. I hope everybody has a great night, and we'll see you back here Wednesday night, March 11th, 9 p.m. Eastern, with a friend of the show, a friend of mine, Steve Bermel, the Buffalo Bandits analyst, and we're going to talk Banditland Lacrosse and some of their moves at the trade deadline. Have a good night, everybody. And again, thank you to Barry Cullen Chevrolet and to everyone for watching and listening to Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet and hosted by Chris Palme. Good night, everybody.